We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
For 30 years, Thomas Home Corporation has proudly helped families build their ultimate dream home. If you're looking to customize your home, we are currently building throughout Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa counties, and we can either build your home in one of our subdivisions or even on your own lot. Our team works with you to guide you through each step and decision in the process. Builder of the 2019 American Dream Home and Builder of the Year, Thomas Homes Corporation has built quality homes at an affordable price since 1990. Begin the process today and become one of our proud homeowners at thomashomescorp.com.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEVY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. We hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, washing your hands, practicing social distancing. You know what you're supposed to do by now. I don't think that needs to be said. Nonetheless, we're going to be talking some football with you. First things first, as we always do and we'll continue to do on the show, we want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers, all our grocery store employees, everyone, truck drivers. It's everybody right now. When you look at everything going on, we appreciate people for you're making our lives easier. When you talk about healthcare workers and first responders, that's from firefighters to EMT to police officers. Everybody, you know who you are out there. We thank you guys. We couldn't go through our daily lives without you guys. We appreciate it. Everything you do, healthcare, it's so crazy right now. Of course, my significant other working in a local hospital, just seeing and hearing the stories of everything going on and how generous people are being right now. Look, the true colors are showing for a lot of people, and for all the negativity out there, I don't want to hear that. There's more positivity than anything. Seeing people step up and do their part and do things that we don't have to do, but people want to do. And that's what I love about this country. I'm not getting on a rant on that, but I love about our community as well. Coach, I know you feel pretty much the same way, but how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you, JP. And I do feel exactly the same way. And also like to include, there's just so many people that have absolutely mandatory obligations to the public, which we don't think about, like law enforcement, fire departments, EMS people. Just it goes on, and we have to send them our best, think about them all the time, and wish for the best, and thank them for all that they do.
Absolutely. It goes without saying there. And listen, I've said before, you don't shake their hand, but if you see one of them out there, you see, look, whether they're grocery shopping, whatever it may be, even grocery workers as well, just tell those people thank you. And remember, practice a little patience in all this. Everybody is being affected by this. It's a little bit different for everybody. Respect people in their area. We talk about social distancing. You still see it in some of the grocery stores, but a lot of people are doing a great job out there. But going back to healthcare workers, first responders, everybody, just tell them thank you. I mean, a kind word goes such a long way, especially in a time right now. Just be encouraging. Coach, we also want to thank our sponsors as well. Of course, without our sponsors, we couldn't bring you this right now. We're trying to be an outlet for people. I mean, we talk some football. We love talking football, Coach. We know that, but we appreciate our listeners. But we also thank our sponsors out there, because without them, this is not possible.
Absolutely. And not only this hour, but all the other contributions to the community, just too numerous to go over in an hour, really.
Absolutely. And that brings me, look, your questions are welcome here. 850-623-1330. Let us know what's on your mind. Look, we're talking football as always, so whatever you got going on, let us know. If you disagree with us, we want to know. Look, we welcome it at this point. We are, of course, going to talk about a college football team. We will break down the SEC and the ACC as we go along here today. This is actually a pretty fun one again, Mississippi State. Remember, with Mike Leach coming over, there's plenty to talk about at Mississippi State today. But, Coach, I want to start with some big news here. Now, of course, Vice President Mike Pence, he met with a bunch of the college football commissioners and the leagues and some interesting things. He was pretty positive. The report we're getting is he was pretty positive, of course, with them, and he was hopeful for the college football season, which I would expect at this point because no decision has to truly be made. But Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby shared some, of his conversation. And Bowlesby said, our players, our students, if we're not in college, we're not having contests. Our message was we need to get universities and colleges back open, and we're education-based programs, and we're not going to have sports until we had something closer to normal college going on. Look, I know, of course, one additional point of concern with athletic directors, they acknowledge about the prospect of games with no fans, that some fans may become less inclined to come back, thinking that the experience of watching football from their couch, in HD is much cheaper and more time efficient. First things first, Coach, what Bowlesby said, I understand. I know that they're trying to work through things right now, but I get, college. Look, it's college first, education. That's what these universities are here for. But I'm going to say this on the second thing here. One additional point of concern, ADs don't want to have football without fans in the stands because they're worried that they're going to appreciate basically the TV experience and not come back. Coach, I may be wrong on this, but fans obviously, they've watched a game on their TV before. I get the worry there, but at the same time, like, there's so many fans out there that go there for the experience. That's what's so great about college football is the culture out there. I could be wrong, but I kind of seem that as that's a silly statement.
Well, I think it goes much beyond that. I think college football is dependent on that revenue stream much more so than pro football. I think the NFL in stadium ticket sales are responsible for only like 1/16 of the revenue that they get throughout the year in the NFL. In college, it's a lot different. I think that the majority of what they get comes from ticket sales. Obviously, they're getting big TV money now, so it may have evened out, but they're much more dependent on it than would be a National Football League team, and that's one reason I've said for 2 or 3 times here recently. It's hard to think that we would have football without spectators, but it is a possibility due to the circumstances of what we're facing. Now, the NFL could do it. There would be no problems really for the NFL to do it, and the TV money is the big thing, plus the fact that you don't have schools and you don't have to contend with having legitimate classes going on in order to play football and represent that college. So that would not be of any contention. NFL teams don't usually have bands and cheerleaders and all of the other traditional trappings of a college game. And it would be hard to think of a college game without all of the tradition involved with college football. Not so with the NFL. Be better, always better with fans, but they could play it without them. But don't forget how much college football. And one reason these the athletic directors are saying that they know what that almighty dollar is influenced by people in the stands.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something I've said before. As I brought up on the Sports Drive and here, Coach, is how does this help it with no fans in the stands? If that was to be the case, how do the little schools? How do they hang on? Are they going to have to go away for a few years? There's so many questions because remember, football is king for a lot of these other sports. It gives the money to be able to supply these other sports, but it's something that we may not have to worry about. I hope we don't, but nonetheless, Look, this is going to be interesting in all this, but Mike Pence being positive, I think is a good thing. We need positivity right now with all the negativity we're seeing in the media, and moving on to something, I guess. I don't know how you want to take this, Coach. This is something that's popping up now. Look, we know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are preparing to enter a new era with Tom Brady under center, but they may not be done shaping some talent around him, and that's offensively. We know they're looking defensively, but with the draft coming up, look, we know he has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin out there. Look, Cameron Brate's another tight end. He has O.J. Howard. But now rumors are coming out that, well, the Bucs may be looking to ship tight end O.J. Howard. And it wouldn't be surprised if he was traded within next week. Now, look, this comes back to a couple things. I understand Howard, of course, was selected by the Buccaneers, number 19 overall in the 2017 NFL Draft. He had a great 2017, did a great year, but something it's come along. Last year, remember, Bruce Arians said it's hard to say what's wrong when he was asked about, O.J. Howard last November. He's a talented guy, a very talented guy, but he's not showing up on Sundays. And that's interesting. I mean, this is a 6'6", 250-pound guy that, look, in his 38 career games has caught 94 passes for over 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's only 25 years old. There could be a market for him, especially with the draft doesn't have a whole lot of tight ends right now. But with Bruce Arians saying that, we've seen Bruce Arians, talk about other guys as well, and they move out. O.J. Howard's been a lot of issues with him whenever he's injured. When he comes back, he doesn't necessarily perform as well. It's just so inconsistent here. And I think, Coach, I can't disagree with what Bruce Arians, if this is the case, what they're doing, because you've got Tom Brady, and we'll say you've got him for 2 years. You cannot waste time here hoping that something's going to work out. I think we lost Coach. Remember, we're practicing social distancing here. I think it's interesting. Remember, Coach is at his house right now. But getting on this O.J. Howard thing, I think this is a move for a lot of people saying, well, O.J. Howard, the potential. And he has shown flashes that he can be really great. But I think there's some indecision. I don't think the talent necessarily is a question. It's, can he stay healthy? That's through all this. I think we've seen Tom Brady, what he does with guys. I think Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard would be two great tight ends to have with him outside of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. But I also think, look, I commend the Bucs on this because if they can find somebody, they can get a good move here. I'm not saying they go get another tight end necessarily. Go get him some more help. Look, this draft is very thin on tight ends. And a lot of your tight ends already, ask the Patriots, are gone. The Patriots right now, that we thought they were going to go get a tight end, and they couldn't. Hunter Henry was a guy that they were looking at. It didn't happen. He signed, of course, the tender, I believe, yesterday with the Chargers. So this is interesting. This is going to be an interesting move whenever you look at the Bucs. And I got to say, look, Bruce Arians is a guy, he's crazy. He's a great offensive mind. But I can't disagree with what they're doing right now if this is the case. Now, of course, this is not set in stone. This is what we're hearing. Coach, I think we got you back, but with everything going on right now with O.J. Howard and the rumors here, I think, look, Bruce Arians understands that they have limited time with Tom Brady, and with something that could be inconsistent, he just doesn't want to put up with it right now.
Yeah, well, there are obviously some locker room problems that he feels are detrimental and would not be a positive with the way they're trying to shape this football team. And certainly with Brady. Brady is so demanding. People don't understand. He's like, when I say he's the offensive coordinator on the field, he is, and he runs the practices. He yells and screams at players, even coaches. If they don't get it right, I know, talking to Jim Haslett when he was at New Orleans, and they did some practices with New England, and Brady would tell New Orleans would service, their defense would service New England's offense and vice versa. But when New England's offense was on the field with the Saints defense, and they had scripted plays, obviously you're trying to get a practice in, so everything's scripted. And if they didn't get it just right over on the New Orleans side, he would yell and scream at them and scream at the coaches. And if he had enough, like for example, if they had 25 plays scheduled and they'd gotten through 20 and it wasn't going very well the way that he wanted, he'd just tell the coach, that's it. And I'd say, well, we got 25. He said, we're not doing the other 5. Forget it. I said, that's it. and they go on to something else. He runs the offense. So they're not. They obviously. I think Arians knows this, and he obviously would not want a troublemaker if that's what he thinks O.J. Howard is. I don't know. I'm not suggesting O.J. Howard is a troublemaker, but not by any stretch because I don't know him. But if he feels like that would not be a good mesh with Brady, and he'd have a potential problem coming up, I could see why he would do it. Now, what they might do, because Brady does love the two tight ends, any tight end, but two especially. I'm wondering if they may try to get another tight end, or just with so much offensive talent available, especially in the receiver position, if they couldn't trade him for one of the draft picks that might get them something there. I'm sure they'd get a good draft pick. Or maybe an offensive lineman, but that's pretty much understandable to me as to what might be the reason that he wants to get rid of him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something. It's more along the line, and this is just from my opinion purely. This is nothing else, but he hasn't produced the way that they thought he was going to produce. And look, Bruce Arians doesn't want any inconsistency right now. When I say he doesn't want to put up with that, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that, look, they know they can't waste any time with Tom Brady. He's not 30 years old. They're not going to have him for 10 years. They get that. They could possibly have him for 1, 2, maybe 3 years. Who knows? But nonetheless, they're in win-now mode when you make that trade for Brady. And I think he just doesn't want to waste the time of hoping that things work out whenever he has an opportunity now. And with the market, there's no better time to try to ship a tight end that has, well, what people want to call potential out right now, because there's no tight ends in this draft. There's only a couple in there that you really look at and go, okay, that's a guy that I think can help us. That's the difference in this draft. This draft is probably as deep as it's ever been, and we'll talk more about it after we come back from break. But at the wide receiver position, the offensive tackles, all these guys, quarterbacks, whatever you name it, there's so much depth in this draft, but tight end is just, it's not it this year. So, look, I think it's interesting. I think for the Bucs, I think it's a good move. I trust Bruce Arians right now. I can't believe I'm saying that. I think he's crazy enough to make this work, but I agree with you, Coach. Tom Brady, look, he's so demanding. This could be part of Brady as well.
Yeah, one other factor to remember here is that if there has been a problem with O.J. Howard, the players know it as well as the coaches, so other players know it. If he gets rid of O.J. Howard, he's also set an example. Then they'll know, the players will know, this type attitude is not going to be tolerated. So we better get it all together. They obviously feel like we've got a good chance to win now with Brady. So we better put our best foot forward and make it happen and be good citizens as well as good football players.
I agree. I think it's a good move no matter what. And look, I have no reason not to trust Bruce Arians on this. But nonetheless, Coach, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the NFL draft and the depth. There's a couple stats I want to throw at you. It really makes you shake your head and look at this draft a little bit differently. All that right here and more on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Pensacola's home to hometown sports, covering the biggest high school games. UWF football, catching every game of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. Plus, local sports commentary with the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. And weekend sports talk with Davis Allen and Justin Patrick on the Sports Call. We are local. We are ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Pensacola is an amazing destination enjoyed by millions of people every year. High Point Hotel Corporation is proud to offer area visitors a place they can call home in Pensacola. Whether you're looking for a downtown property with space to work and play, a place to rest your head before your morning flight, or a large suite for an extended stay, High Point Hotel Corporation has a place for you in Pensacola. Visit us today at the Courtyard or Resident Inn by Marriott in downtown Pensacola, or the Hampton Inn, Homewood Suites, Hilton Garden Inn, or the new Residence Inn near the Pensacola Airport.
Like all of us, small businesses are being impacted by these uncertain times, but we will get through them together. When you can, please try to support your local restaurants, bars, or any other establishments that are still open for carryout or delivery. The following businesses continue to serve their communities and customers by remaining open and need your support.
Mr. Poyo in Pensacola, open for pickup.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. On this Thursday afternoon, hope everybody's staying safe. We're talking some football with you. Coach, I want to get into a couple things. Of course, the draft coming up next week. It's coming right around the corner. We talked about the draft depth. I think this is so important. We talked about the quarterbacks yesterday. We got some Pro Football Focus broke down the quarterbacks as well. Just shows how deep the quarterback class is. And today, tomorrow I want to break down the offensive line. I think that's another important part right here in the depth. Today I wanted to break down the wide receivers. I think there's a lot of interesting stats in this draft. And look, the wide receiver, this may be the deepest draft at wide receiver ever. I'm not saying it's going to pan out that way, but long term. But just right now with the talent that we have. Now, using a combination of data from Pro Football Focus, which is yards per route run. Look, Nike's Spark metric, which measures an athlete's speed, power, agility, reaction, and quickness. There's a couple things here. Among the 21 receivers for where this available data is for these guys, 11 of them scored in about as high as you can get, the above average rank. And I want to name them just real quick. CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma, Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State, Devin Duvernay out of Texas, Antonio Gandy Golden from Liberty, Isaiah Hodgins out of Oregon State, Justin Jefferson from LSU, John Hightower from Boise State, Chase Claypool from Notre Dame, Henry Ruggs from Alabama, Denzel Mims from Baylor, and Michael Pittman from USC. These are guys they're rated absolutely as high as you can with these metrics here. Now remember, this is Pro Football Focus. This is not some random Joe mentioning this. Another 4 players were rated above average in production and slightly average when they look at athleticism. It was Jerry Jeudy of Alabama, Juwan Jennings from Tennessee, Gabriel Davis from UCF, Kalijah Lipscomb from Vanderbilt. And then you look at guys that, listen, they They have below average production. That doesn't mean it's their fault in this. That just means with what the numbers that they should have put out according to all the other metrics. Tyree Cleveland from Florida, Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan, Austin Mack from Ohio State, Courtney Davis from Texas A&M, and Jalen Rieger from TCU. Now, these guys ranked high in athleticism, but below average of production. Coach, when you look at these numbers, this is insane. You have 21 guys just right here. You could add other guys, of course, but this draft is unbelievable. I mean, when you're mentioning those names right here, these are names that could go first, second, third round, but we see teams need wide receiver help. I mean, it's interesting. I'll bring up the draft rankings from Mel Kiper in a minute, but when you just hear the numbers like that and these metrics and everything, people can say with analytics, I get it, but they are stats. I mean, this is something that you look, it helps, scout a guy. I just think this is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's no doubt about that. The stats are very interesting, but here's an interesting thing, too. Jerry Jeudy was not ranked there in the highest, just under the highest rating that you had. But yet, on most draft boards, Jerry Jeudy is projected to go maybe first receiver off the board.
Right.
First to go. So there's some things there that when you get too deep into stats, that's what statistics. That's what can happen to you. You gotta look at the overall picture, the overall player, and it has a lot to do with route running. For example, he's supposed to be one of the best route runners ever to come out of college. Well, that takes precedence maybe over a slight bit of speed or maybe a couple of other things. So anyway, it's interesting. The receiver position is extremely interesting, as are other positions. And as I said, this is a deep draft. There are a lot of playmakers in this draft, and there are a number of interesting things that are going to happen, not only among the quarterbacks, but among the other skilled players as well.
Yeah, one person that wasn't mentioned as well, Coach, on that note, was T. Higgins from Clemson, and he's also the fourth receiver looked to be taken off the board as well. And that's where I agree. My point with all this is how deep this draft is. I mean, when you can look at the sabermetrics of things, and I just think it's awesome. There's, like you said, Jerry Jeudy is, well, according to Mel Kiper, he's supposed to be the first wide receiver taken in this draft. And look, C.D. Lamb is number 2, Henry Ruggs is 3, T. Higgins is 4, Justin Jefferson is 5, Denzel Mims is 6, Michael Pittman is 7, Laviska Shenault from Colorado is 8, Brandon Ayuk, and then Chase Claypool right there is 9 and 10. This is phenomenal. I mean, this is so much fun just to talk about this because I understand the stats aren't everything, but it does help when you look at the depth of this draft and how guys can actually, they don't have to necessarily potentially trade up. This is where some of these sneaky guys we hear, the wide receiver from Oregon State could be a guy to look out for, and things that, I understand goes into this, goes into the whole scouting realm of things, but it's so much fun to look at this draft and look at the wide receivers. Like I said, 21 of the wide receivers that they had stats on, 11 of them ranked as high as you can. Now, I get that doesn't mean everything, but I think it just shows, Coach, when you look at the overall depth of this draft, there's a lot that can happen in this draft. And that's where I think, Mel Kiper, he takes a lot of criticism. Remember, Mel Kiper does this when the mock drafts on what he's hearing. It's not his personal opinion. Some things may be when you get in the second and third round, but this is what he's hearing from other people. And look,
I'm glad you brought that up because people have to realize that Mel Kiper has never played or coached a down of football in his life. He really doesn't know whether the ball is pumped up or stuffed, but he is a great information gatherer. That's what I call him. He does an outstanding job of gathering information, and he certainly is not an introvert. He'll get out there and voice his opinion, and this goes over well with the TV people, and he's certainly made some friends. He has made some friends that he's getting more and more information and more reliable information from. So it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's good, but you have to understand he is getting information from other people. He is an information gatherer.
Yeah, one thing to mention as well, Coach, and I mentioned this yesterday, was for Mel Kiper, when you look at it, he could get from the actual GMs himself of who they're going to draft. They could tell him today, and every single day changes. And Coach, you know this. You've been right there. You've been in the draft rooms. You've been a NFL head coach. You've played. You've seen it all, and you understand this is a day-by-day process. Because look, you get new information all the time on this, especially with not being able to bring guys in and stuff. So, and not to mention that, but if one team drafts somebody that another team thought they were going to draft, it just changes everything. Pick by pick, this changes day by day, minute by minute. That's where we got to pump the brakes. Look, Mel Kiper's basically, like you said, I think that's perfect. An information gatherer in this, but things change every single day, and I know you know that, being on the inside before, Coach.
Well, absolutely, and things do change, JP, and you'd be surprised how much they'll change. Now, some of that is to the detriment of all of the work that you put in, all of your scouts have put in. All this information has been put together, and some of it takes a meticulous amount of work to get the proper verbiage and the proper evaluation guides that you want to use and metrics that you want to use, and get it all together. And then at the last minute, you get into that day before the draft or 2 days before the draft, and somebody gets cold feet, and they commit. Oh, they want to change their grade, or they want to add another asterisk to this person on the board. I've been through all that, and that just creates a tremendous amount of conflict, because that moves everybody else. You move one guy, you've moved your whole board around, and it could make a major difference in then how you select and what you might be willing to trade and what you might not be willing to trade. That may not make sense to some, but just a movement of one or two guys can be total disruption. But it happens, and I've seen it happen. Unfortunately, I've seen it happen myself.
Coach, a question that I do want to ask you in all this, because I get the question asked to me, is how much can we believe is truth and how much is a bunch of hearsay? And I always say, look, until it happens, at this point, you believe it is hearsay, because who knows what's truth and what's reality and everything, right? Or what's reality and what's false. But one thing that I was asked the other day, Coach, was do teams have people, and it could be PR or whatever it may be, that can send out almost like these smoke screens, these signals out there just to get people off the cover? And the reason I asked that is because it was talking about the Miami Dolphins being really interested in Justin Herbert. And they were like, okay, I get it because of Tua's injuries, but look, this is a team that was really interested in Tua, and if they can get them at number 5, that'd be awesome. But, Coach, when you look at this, my question goes back to, are the teams have – I mean, I guess you don't know everybody, but have you heard of teams having people that send out multiple signals to almost leave people leaving question marks on these other teams?
The answer to that is an emphatic yes, 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 and yes. No doubt about it. Almost every team. I don't know of any team that does not at some point send out some smoke signals that they're going another way than their intentions are. And what are their intentions? And I think it's perfectly normal. It's certainly something you would not want somebody else to have added interest in a guy you feel is going to be there with your pick, is going to slide to you. And now you start talking about to the press and everybody else about what a great player this is and what his attributes are, and you pique the interest of somebody else. You say, well, wait a minute, maybe our scouts didn't do quite the job there that we had anticipated. So they go back and they end up taking him over the guy that they had picked. So you could cost yourself dearly by talking too much, getting the wrong information out there. But on the flip side of that, you can help yourself by sending them off on another trail. And you could have some very, very talented people that you've got rated. You could have them fall to you, and then you've really got value in the draft if that happens. Now, there's no doubt that you put the smoke screens up there, JP. It's just that's a part of the game. And the other thing that some people will do is you have the press trying to be so invasive in what a team is going to do here or there, or draft pick or trade or whatever. And just to throw that guy for a loop, they will get an inside person to get information directly to him, information that only he would have. But the problem is it's false. And if he goes with it, and it's false information, it makes him look bad. So they have been known to do that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that the answer to that, Coach, was a yes. And hearing you say there was emphatically yes right there, it's look, we get it, but just until you hear it there, I think it's interesting. It's something that for people, that's where I go back to. Don't believe it until it happens at this point. That's the biggest thing, just because of these teams are trying to almost dupe each other. And look, for Miami, rightfully so, because if Miami didn't have to trade up to number 3 to get, if they really liked Tua, you could save those picks. Well, that's awesome, because that's 2 other guys that you could keep that could help your football team. So, look.
Yeah, well, we talked about that. They'd be crazy to trade number one picks to get up there. It'd be bad enough if they made a mistake at 5. They've lost a number 1 draft pick. Okay, if he can't play, but now trade 2 more, and it's triple jeopardy. Just to get up there to take him and he's injured. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. Now the other thing too to keep in mind, just as a caveat to what we're talking about, there are some signals that you can pick up out there from other teams as to what they're going to do. And it amounts to those that like to talk too much and don't have total confidence in their room. You'll never get that, for example, from the Patriots. You'd never pick up anything from them. Nobody knows what they're going to do. But there are some teams that will call around so much, asking other advice on a player, or talking to a friend of theirs in college who has doesn't worry about who picks whatever player when. So they get the word gets out that, well, these people, I think these people are looking at so and so. It's just like right now there's a lot of smoke out there, and Kuiper has picked up on it. And I'm sure there's some smoke there. There may be a little fire somewhere, but he's picked up on that. That Miami really is looking at Justin Herbert. So we'll see what happens. But sometimes too much talk can loose lips sink ships. So that's what happens.
Yeah, you're right, Coach, and that goes for life. Just in general, and remind people, of course, Justin Herbert teleconferenced with the Miami Dolphins just recently, too. So not that means a whole lot of difference, but it does mean, of course, we knew that this was going to happen. They're going to do their due diligence right now, and they're trying to make the best decision for themselves. So I've said before, if I'm Miami here and you have any doubts at all about Tua, you move on. I understand Justin Herbert, when you look at it from the place that he's not the same player, but health and what Justin Herbert can be, he has some of those intangibles. And Tua with that injury risk, he has had surgeries. It has happened. That's a fact. And that's where you look at guys getting injured in college, it transfers over to the NFL. That's all I'm going to say on that. I just say, in my personal opinion, if I'm Miami and I have a doubt, I'm not taking them. Nonetheless, Coach, we're going to talk when we come back from break. We're going to talk about Mississippi State. We have so much to get to with them. And Mike Leach. I got a lot of interesting information on Mike Leach's past to kind of prepare you. Mississippi State fans already know about this guy. He's a little bit crazy. But the stats, well, may surprise you a little bit. Right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Pensacola is an amazing destination enjoyed by millions of people every year. High Point Hotel Corporation is proud to offer area visitors a place they can call home in Pensacola. Whether you're looking for a downtown property with space to work and play, a place to rest your head before your morning flight, or a large suite for an extended stay, High Point Hotel Corporation has a place for you in Pensacola. Visit us today at the Courtyard or Resident Inn by Marriott in downtown Pensacola, or the Hampton Inn, Homewood Suites, Hilton Garden Inn, or the new Residence Inn near the Pensacola Airport.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
JP here with Talk Football and the Sports Drive. At ESPN Pensacola, we're hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion and NFL Hall of Famer Derek Brooks.
The Super Bowl, and they're trying to win it for us. Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way.
This is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Washington High School alum, Derek Brooks. You listen to ESPN Pensacola.
Hey, this is Chad Brillante from the Afternoon Sports Drive, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. On this Thursday afternoon, everybody's staying safe. We're talking some football with you. Coach, we've been breaking down a team every day for a while now. We're going to continue that right here, going through the SEC right now. Mississippi State, a team that's going to be probably one of the most interesting teams to see how this season works out for them this year. Of course, Mike Leach coming over from Washington State. Going to run through their schedule real quick here, and then we'll talk about them a little bit more. Of course, opening up at home against New Mexico. Then they go on the road to take on NC State. Then they're back home for 3 games with Arkansas, Tulane, and Texas A&M. Then they go on the road for 2 games to take on Alabama and LSU. Then back home for a couple games against the Auburn Tigers and Missouri Tigers. Then on the road at Kentucky. Then back home, of course, for Alabama A&M and the homecoming game there. And then they go on the road to the Egg Bowl to take on Ole Miss, where they will find Lane Kiffin this year, which is going to be interesting, and we'll talk about that as well. This is a team, of course, that finished with a losing record last year, 6-7. Joe Moorhead was the coach. Remember that. Now he is off to be the offensive coordinator at Oregon. We'll see how that works out. Just to kind of get a glance at the team last year. Now remember, this is the SEC. Things can be a little bit different, but they were 74th in the nation, averaging a little over 27 points a game. They gave up almost 29 points a game, which was also 74th in the nation. Strength of schedule, they had a pretty strong schedule. They were 7th in the nation there. Of course, they lost in the Music City Bowl, 38-28 to Louisville. A couple things here, Coach, and this is, when you look at Mississippi State, this is a team that, you expect them to compete but not be elite. They're not one of the elite teams right now. Not saying they ever will be, but we'll see what happens with Mike Leach moving forward. He's been remember, Mike Leach, a little background on him, been the head coach at Texas Tech and Washington State. His overall record is 139-90. Now, when you look at this, of course, he's taken 16 of his teams to bowl games. He's won 7 of those. He's had 6 teams that end up in the top 25 rankings, the highest, of course, being 10th by Washington State in 2018. Texas Tech was 12th in 2008. Remembering going back to his overall record is 139-90. Now, this is where I looked at it a little bit in depth. He wins 25% of his games against ranked teams and 75% of his games against unranked teams. Now, that's interesting because of the conferences he plays in. The SEC is going to be a little bit different. He averages scoring 35 points a game and averages giving up 27 points a game. Coach, just to start off with this, when you hear those averages and 35 points a game, 27 points, I know he can recruit a little bit different, but he's never truly recruited defense as much. My question to you first, and we'll go through this a little bit slower today. My question is, can he get away with trying to outscore people, or is he going to have to play defense in the SEC?
Listen, that's his MO. He has set passing records and scoring records everywhere he's been. Certainly at Texas Tech and Washington State. Before that, I think he was one of the wild crew there, at Valdosta State, for crying out loud. Hal Mumme, part of Hal Mumme's football philosophy, which is off the walls. But listen, the guy's been successful. I respect what he's done. I don't know how he game plans on one little card, looks like an index card that he has in his hand. Well, he must have every variation in the world off about 3 or 4 calls. But he has been successful, JP, everywhere he's been successful, meaning I think that he's ultimately with that program, he's had success or had a winning record or gone to a bowl or gone to multiple bowls or whatever. So I know what he's done in the passing game. It's been phenomenal. Every year, for example, at Washington State, you have one of their quarterbacks leading the nation in passing. So let's start there. And then it's going to be difficult for him to have an outstanding defense because, one, he can't compete outstanding defense as would be considered an outstanding defense in the Southeastern Conference. He can't compete against the other schools like Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, even Texas A&M, LSU, the schools right around him. He can't compete with them for the talent that's out there overall, to have enough talent and depth to be able to compete head-to-head with these people. So what he's bringing to the table is the right system, I think, for Mississippi State, because they're going to have to throw the football and outwit people throwing the football and do something unconventional that would take teams more than a week to prepare for. That's why he's going to be tough to beat. And I've said it all along, look out when you play Mississippi State and Leach, because it's going to be something different that your people haven't seen, and they're going to be proficient in throwing the football. So if you can't defend against that, they'll just play basketball where they'll just play catch and run. And first thing you know, they've scored more than you can score, even against his ineffective, if you will, defenses. He will do his best to have as good a defense as he can, but he's also one of the coaches that might say to the defensive coordinator, if you can't stop him, just let him score so we can get the ball back.
Yeah, I agree in this. There's a couple interesting stats in all this, Coach. Look, I think that, Mississippi State has had some stingy defenses in the past. The defensive coordinator and stuff, this has been a defense that has shown up sometimes. I think it's going to be hard. Like you said, I don't think it's going to happen to have that elite defense like you've seen in the SEC. Now, crazier things have happened, but that's just like you said, not his MO. I think, Luke Falk and Gardner Minshew were guys, just to throw some more stats out here, of how Mike Leach has changed a little bit with that passing game. Of course, he averages a 70-30 pass-to-run ratio in that air raid offense. So that, of course, means passing 70% of the time, running 30% of the time. He actually had a good little back at a sophomore back there at Washington State that was pretty good, and he utilized him in a lot of different ways, of course, using him out of the backfield as well, also rushing. It's going to be interesting, but Luke Falk and Gardner Minshew, this is something where he used them in the run game, as a quarterback run game, about 80 times each year. Both those guys were more mobile guys. With Anthony Gordon last year, he ran, I believe it was 13 times. Now, it's just something interesting I bring up because KJ Costello, of course, coming over from Stanford, the quarterback that has shown that he can throw the football. He is a good leader. I think he's going to be great for that team. That was a tremendous pickup for him. He ran 8 times the past 2 years at Stanford. So I think that standard is going to probably be the same there. Something for Mike Leach.
JP.
Go ahead.
JP, can I interrupt here? One thing interesting as you go through these particular set of statistics. This is another reason I should have mentioned. There's another reason that it'll be very difficult to play great defensively because you can't throw the ball 70% of the time and run 30% of the time and have a great defense. It means you're off the field. Your defense is probably on the field more than they need to be. If you had a stat that shows average offensive time on the field compared to defensive time on the field, it would be difficult to have a good defense with that particular statistic.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Coach, and it's something that, of course, me being an Oregon fan, going back to the Chip Kelly days when they got that hurry-up offense, and the defense, you had so many guys that actually went in the first and second round of the draft on defense, but the defense was giving up 30 points a game, and it was because of how long they were on the field. So I think that is a very good point to bring up. When you talk about Mike Leach right now, with all the guys that he actually does, he does have some talent coming back. The cupboard is not dry at Mississippi State with what Joe Moorhead left. He has a guy that's interesting because, remember, I said that running back, Max Borghi, the sophomore out of Washington State, had 86 catches for almost 600 yards last year. We've seen that Leach likes to use guys like that, different sets. But Kylan Hill rushed for over 1,300 yards last season for Mississippi State. He's coming back. This guy, he's a proven runner. He's got NFL aspirations. He's a good-looking kid. Scouts like him a lot. He had 18 catches in 13 games. Now, I think this is going to be interesting because I think that's going to change a little bit for him and make him more versatile, which will also help him when you talk about NFL aspirations. But, Coach, talking a couple of things I think that have to happen here. Just to have a successful season for Mississippi State. They play Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn, and LSU. Look, I think he could win one of these. Maybe 2, we'll see. Maybe a little too optimistic on this, but when you look at teams like Auburn, they could be down a little bit this year. Not sure what they're going to look like. LSU, we know they're going to be good, but how good? And this is a team, like you've said before, with the style that they play, all these other teams in the SEC will have to change their schemes to be able to try to counter this, and it's going to be interesting. I think he needs to win one of those, maybe 2. Look, if you go back to his history as recent as 2018, he's beaten Utah when they were one of the top teams, Oregon, Stanford, teams like that. He also upset Boise State, Southern Cal. It's just he's proven that he can win some games. Now, I understand the SEC is a little bit different, but I want to finish this off by saying if he truly wants to win the hearts of the fans, he needs to be bowl eligible, show progress to the fans that things are getting better. That's something Joe Moorhead didn't do. He needs to beat that in-state villain, who is more of a villain now than ever with Ole Miss, now that Lane Kiffin's aboard. That would just be the icing on the cake if you could do a few of those things right there. But ultimately, beating Ole Miss, that's Lane Kiffin's there now. It's got a little more edge to it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I think this Mississippi State squad could surprise some people this year. I think we lost Coach again. Remember, we're practicing our social distancing here, and sometimes our equipment doesn't work necessarily like it should. But that's what I'm going to say. I think for Mississippi State, it's important that you got to win the Egg Bowl for sure, but if they can beat one of those teams, especially if they could beat an Alabama, not saying it will happen, but Texas A&M, Auburn, LSU, which I believe they could possibly win 2 of those games, we'll see what happens. The schedule is not necessarily favorable, but he does get some cupcakes when you look at that schedule. So bowl eligible, and you got to beat Ole Miss. That's the first 2 things you got to do. I think he'll have some success, though. While we work to get Coach back, we're going to take our last break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Joe Judge saying, well, maybe the new coaches aren't against the curve when it comes to the coronavirus and everything that's happened. All that more right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Look, chicken restaurants are nothing new. But if you're saying been there, done that, it tastes like chicken. Well, if your friends offer you a brand new convertible or a broken down station wagon with 3 wheels, do you say, hey, they're both cars? Well, the people have spoken. Mr. Pollo on 9th Avenue was voted top 100 places to eat in the country by Yelp at number 61. Making chicken great again, America. It's that good. Try it and you'll be hooked for life. The freshest ingredients and the perfect catering for any big party. Mr. Pollo. It means chicken.
Pensacola is an amazing destination enjoyed by millions of people every year. High Point Hotel Corporation is proud to offer area visitors a place they can call home in Pensacola. Whether you're looking for a downtown property with space to work and play, a place to rest your head before your morning flight, or a large suite for an extended stay, High Point Hotel Corporation has a place for you in Pensacola. Visit us today at the Courtyard or Resident Inn by Marriott in downtown Pensacola, or the Hampton Inn, Homewood Suites, Hilton Garden Inn, or the new Residence Inn near the Pensacola Airport.
With legends like Emmitt Smith, Derek Brooks, Roy Jones Jr., and Bubba Watson, all hailing from the Pensacola area. And that's only to name a few. This begs the question, who's the greatest Pensacola athlete of all time? Join Sports Call with Davis and Justin this Saturday from 11 to 1 for Selection Saturday as Davis Allen announces the field of 16 athletes. Throughout the next few weeks, you can vote for who you think is the best athlete in our daily athlete matchups at our ESPN Pensacola Facebook page at ESPN Pensacola.
Coming up on Sports Call this Saturday, it's Selection Saturday. That means I'm listing off the athletes' names that are competing in our bracket to determine who is the greatest Pensacola athlete of all time. That's this Saturday from 11 to 1 on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you, alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. Here on a Thursday afternoon, we hope everybody's staying safe. We're talking some football with you here on the final segment of the show. Coach, we got a few minutes here. Something that I thought was interesting, just reading. Joe Judge is not necessarily the guy we thought was going to be running the show with the Giants, but nonetheless, he's there. And he talks a little bit about, they're asking him about the COVID-19 and how it's changed the usual course of business in the NFL. And he said, listen, I think the advantage goes to whoever is best prepared from this point forward. They asked him about being a new coach and doing a new system with all the productivity and things you need to get done right now. How do you do this with your players and everything else? And he said, listen, I don't think that first-year coaches are at a disadvantage during this. I don't think this hurts anybody. Coach, I'm going to ask you, just because you've been in situations, not necessarily a situation like this, of course, but in the offseason and things like that, with Joe Judge saying that first-year head coaches are not at a disadvantage, are at a disadvantage here. I apologize, I misread it. Are not at a disadvantage. I can't imagine that they're not at some type of disadvantage here. But Coach, you've been there, you've done that. What say you on this? Is there a disadvantage for a first-year coach with all this stuff going on, or is it kind of, I guess, off-season business as usual?
Yes, it is a disadvantage. The ATOs or OTAs, and the other the other communication that you have with players, certainly players who are going to be in certain positions, right, like a quarterback, maybe an offensive center. People are going to have to make life and death calls for you up there as far as protections and so on. You need that extra time because they can't see it enough, especially young kids. If you've got younger players too, they just cannot see it enough. And if you've got a new system you're installing, that's double trouble. So yes, it is a disadvantage. There's no way it could be anything but a disadvantage. You need every minute that you can. That's why the NFL allows them a few days earlier. They're able to go to camp a few days earlier if you're a first-year coach, because you are at a disadvantage, and it takes a little longer because you've got to teach, not only teach and install your system, but then you have to get the repetitions necessary. It's one thing just to teach and install. You can sit there on the board or with tapes or with anything that you want, but until they've been through it, not only walk through it, but then jog through it and then run through it, and then have the opposing players out there in opposition, you don't have it down. So it is a disadvantage.
Yeah, I agree. I understand where he's trying to come from the positivity standpoint, but I thought so too. It's just, I don't know how it's not a disadvantage, but nonetheless, Coach, that sound means it's time for us to go. As usual, we had so much to get to. We didn't. Nonetheless, Coach, it's been a pleasure.
You bet, and we'll look forward to tomorrow, JP. Good.
You too, Coach. I appreciate it. We appreciate our listeners tuning in today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, talking some football with you.
This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
It's First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80, ESPN app, and ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz. We'll start with a couple of headlines that you need to know.